What's going on, everybody? How you doing? In today's video, we are doing a donation request. This is for Rob. And Rob likes to come up with the crazy, wild, interesting ones, the ones that make me work harder. But, you know, he also pays me for it, so it's worth it. Here's his idea. He wants me to react to a Rick Beato video, which is kind of dangerous, I feel like. I feel like it's sort of dangerous because he's like YouTube goals, you know, for like people that do music related YouTube channels, kind of like mine. The video is Rick's top 40 greatest sounding albums of all time. Rob is bringing this up to me because in a lot of videos, I sometimes bring up production things because I have a little bit of experience with that. I'm not like some major crazy producer or something like that, but I've done some things and I've made records before, so if I have some input, I say it, right? That's pretty much that. Top 40 greatest sounding albums of all time. We're gonna check this out, see what he's picking and why and all that kind of thing. I respect the guy. He's got a massive following on YouTube. I had to look up a bit on him because I didn't really know. I knew he was from New York, but I didn't know that he went to NEC. Oh, see the cat's here. He went to New England Conservatory for his master's in music, which I almost did. I auditioned and got in and everything, but I chose to move to LA instead. Because, you know, I went to Berkeley and I stayed in Boston for like 9 years, right? 4 of which was at college. I was gigging in Boston and teaching and, you know, liking what I was doing there. And I was like, you know what, maybe I'll go that route. Maybe I'll go to NEC because I was still practicing and playing a ton and just learning a lot. I remember I auditioned and I got in, and then I was like, I was thinking about it more. I was kind of sitting on it. I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna go. I'm gonna move to LA. That's what I'm gonna do. So that's what I did. Anyways, but he got a master's degree in jazz studies from NEC, which is amazing. That's what I was going for bass, obviously. He's been a session musician, university lecturer, songwriter, studio engineer, mixer, and record producer. Lecturer at several universities, including University of Alabama and Berklee College of Music. Very, you know, I mean, he's legit, right? Much respect to Rick. He's definitely YouTube goals. So, okay. Let's check this out, if my cat will let me. Let's see what he's saying, see what his list looks like, and I'll probably talk a lot after. All right, let's do this. Bam.
Hey everyone, I'm Rick Beato. In today's episode, I'm going to count down my top 40 greatest sounding albums of all time. Now, why am I doing 40? Because I couldn't really narrow it down. Now, when I say greatest sounding, these are not just great records. They're great sounding, incredibly well-recorded records.
Right.
These are records that if I go into a new stereo shop and I want to try something out, or if I get some new studio monitors, or if I get a new car and I want to listen to stereo, I'll put on one of these songs, or I'll scan through and make a playlist.
So Steely Dan's going to be on the list.
Listen to them.
It's going to be.
But really, any of the songs from
can't,
any of these
right?
records are phenomenally great sounding. Song number 40 is from a record that came out in 2006 called Till the Sun Turns Black. It's by Ray LaMontagne, and it's beautiful.
Sounds nice. Nice change. Oh, I'm not familiar with this. Wow. Yeah, that sounded really nice. I'm not familiar with it. The only Ray LaMontagne that I know is, I know You Are the Best Thing because, you know, I've played a zillion weddings. I don't have any of his records. That sounds super nice, though. It almost has, like, a Radiohead vibe with how, like, kind of whimsical, you know, and strings. Trouble. I think I know that song also, Trouble. Yeah, he doesn't have a ton of, like, mainstream hits. He's got a lot of, this is saying, like, AAA. Anyways, that sounded super nice. I should probably check that out because that sounds legit. All right, let's keep going.
Song number 39 was released in the mid-90s. It's off Doyle Bramhall II's self-titled.
Oh. This is the day I'll never
Sounds amazing.
It does sound good. Again, the changes. Okay, he's flying through these. I only know Doyle Bramhall because I know that he plays in Eric Clapton's band. That's all I know. I didn't know that he had any kind of other, like a solo career or anything like that. Yeah, I thought he was like a session guy or a side guy, a touring musician playing for Eric Clapton. But that did sound kind of cool. Like a well recorded sounding recording. The snippets are so short. He probably does this. You see, I don't do that. I'm learning. I need to start doing it because he probably doesn't get copyright claims, which, I mean, I play the whole damn song, you know, when I'm doing reactions and all that. So I definitely get copyright claims. This guy's smarter than me. I'm going to have to do that. All right, what else?
Song number 38 has Ron Carter playing bass on it, and it's by A Tribe Called Quest.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is from Low End Theory.
Yeah. This is interesting they picked this.
Do it for the strong, we do it for the meek. Boom it in your Jeep, or your Honda, or your Beamer, or your Legend, or your Benz. The rave of the town to your foes and your friends. So
nice. All right, yeah. I actually didn't. Did I pick any? No, I didn't pick any hip hop or rap or any of that kind of thing for this past month where I did my What I'm Playing You, which I'm going to be renaming soon. But the reason why I didn't is because I just knew that you guys wouldn't be into it, because I don't think that that's who my audience is at the moment. So, but I have this record. I love this record. And I like a lot of hip hop, actually, which you probably didn't know or think or guess or any of that. It's interesting that you picked this album just because there's a lot of potential albums that he could have picked, I suppose. And he kind of picked this, like, you know, early 90s hip hop record. Not that it sounds bad. It doesn't sound bad. It's just an interesting pick. I love Ron Carter. Ron Carter is definitely a favorite bass player of mine, jazz bass player. His sound is so unique. It's like rubbery, and his ideas are really incredible. He was at my graduation at Berkeley. Him, Anita Baker, and damn, I don't remember the third person. I want to say it was Kevin Eubanks. I have a picture of me getting my diploma and shaking Ron Carter's hand. Wow, amazing. Okay, let's keep going.
Song number 37 is off David Bowie's
this is
one
an
of his
awesome
last
record.
records, his second to last
If you don't know
record.
this record,
This song's called
record.
Valentine's Day. It sounds phenomenal. The whole record is great.
It is.
Valentine told me who's to go.
Yeah, this is a great record. Okay, yeah, I'm a Bowie fan, so Bowie is like one of these cats that I dug through his whole discography and found gems from the 90s. I was like, wow, this is like one of those records that like doesn't get a lot of action, but this is a really cool song on it, right? Stuff like that, where you're finding, kind of like how I'm doing the Rush thing right now, where you're going through these like early 90s records and maybe late 80s records or whatever, wherever they are. And they're like super popular records, but there's like gems on them. Like when I found Ghost of a Chance, I was like, oh my God, this is a great track. This is a great song, right? Stuff like that. Finding those diamonds in the rough is awesome. That's not this though. This album and Black Star. Yeah, this album, I remember when this album came out. It was just I spun the shit out of it. It's a great record. Great record. There's something that I'm noticing he's not talking about yet. Maybe he will, but I don't know. I may get to it at the end. This is a long list, so let's just keep going for now.
Coming in at number 36 is a song by Fiona Apple.
Fiona Apple.
Check out the snare. Wow. Amazing.
The snare? Okay. I don't know. That one didn't really pop out at me. I thought that something more special was going to be with the snare. But, I mean, it sounds fine. I mean, Fiona Apple, it's like some LA shit, right? So, let's see. This album, Won the Pawn, that was a big one. Yeah, it's all these session musicians. She got Matt Chamberlain. She got Mike Elizondo on bass. Mike Elizondo is a producer. He produced a lot of stuff for Dr. Dre, you know, so he's like in that camp. He's a great bass player and producer. Great. Jim Keltner's on drums. These are like session guys. Yeah. Anything with session guys is just going to be sick. She's got all the production people, which I'll get to that fast as you can. Paper Bag. That sounds familiar. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I mean, the record is going to sound fantastic. It's like a major label session, right? That's basically what this is. It's a major label session. All right, let's keep going.
Song number 35 was released in the early 90s. This is really a classic song and a great sounding record. It has one of the best vocal sounds on it.
'Cause I can't make you love me.
I'm gonna cry.
If you don't.
I can't hear this. I'm gonna cry.
You can't make your heart.
This is
feel
a gorgeous
something
record.
wrong.
Gorgeous.
Here in the dark, in these final hours, I will lay down my heart.
This is like
I feel
the finest Bonnie Raitt. My cat is insane right now. That is a beautiful, gorgeous song. But again, also like, yes, it's recorded incredibly well, but like part of this, that's why this like list is so interesting, is because I'm like, okay, there's so much more to it than just production. The song is incredible. That's like that's like a massive song. Like if we're talking about songwriting, that is an incredibly smart, well put together. It's like a brilliant song. It has everything. It's melodic, and it just, any song that makes you cry is going to be just amazing. It just hits you, in that extremely human spot. And that song does it. That is like such a good song. Of course I know that song. Whew. Bonnie Raitt. Wow. Incredible song. That's what I would have to say about this. This is more about like, so far I'm like, okay, so is this about songs or is it about production? Or I mean, he's saying it's about production and the sound of the records. Then, and everything that he's picked so far sounds good. Tribe Called Quest does sound good, but it's different than the others, maybe because it's like, it's so far the oldest record. The Bonnie Raitt one, when did that come out? Because that was in the 90s, but was it 91? It was. So this and the Tribe Called Quest are both the oldest now that he's picked so far, 91. This is an incredible sounding record, I have to say. It is. That sounds fantastic. All right, let's keep going.
Song number 34 is from a 2010 album by the band Carnival. The record's called Sun Awake,
you guys.
and it's one of the greatest sounding albums you'll hear for heavy rock. Check it out.
Yeah. Almost sounds like it's like the Australian Tool. I've said it before. Oh yeah. That sounds cool. Nice. That was cool. Yeah, that does sound really good. Sounds super clean. You hear everything. The bass sounds great. Yeah, they sound like, I said it before, they sound like the Australian Tool. It's like, it just sounds like it. The changes, and it hits all those spots that Tool does for me. When I hear it. I haven't heard a ton of Carnival, but what I have heard, I'm like, that's usually what happens. So, pretty cool. Yeah, it sounds good. Sounds cool. Sounds good. All right, let's keep going.
Coming in at number 33, this is by Jay-Z.
Never been a nigga this good for this long. This
It's off the Black
He could have picked anything
this
from
strong
Jay-Z.
with so many different flows. This one's for this song. The next one I switch up. This one will get bit up. These fucks too lazy to make up shit. They crazy. They don't paint pictures. They just trace me. You know what? Soon they forget where they pluck. They whole style from the try to reverse the outcome. I'm like, I'm not.
Okay. Yeah. So Jay-Z, I mean, I probably would have picked Blueprint 3, but he could have picked any because Jay-Z's records sound fantastic. He gets the best producers. Just Blaze, he gets the best producers. He's been at the top of that game for frickin' ever, right? So he can get who he wants, all the best tracks. I would even take Watch the Throne. That was huge. But yeah, Black Album. Black Album is classic Jay-Z. But really, any of them. I mean, Jay-Z's sick. Jay-Z is definitely, I'm more of a, like, in terms of, like, hip-hop, I'm definitely more of an East Coast. I wasn't so much into like the West Coast rap, like Tupac. I mean, Snoop Dogg is cool, but like, I don't know. I'm more into, I'd rather listen to Jay-Z. I'd rather listen to Wu-Tang Clan, Q-Tip, Tribe Called Quest, any of that stuff. The individuals from Wu-Tang Clan, any of their records, stuff like that. But yeah, this is a great sounding for hip hop and all that. This is a great sounding record. Yeah, Jay-Z's legit. All right.
Song number 32 is by Tears for Fears. Songs from the Big Chair.
Head Over Heels. Yeah. It's a great song. Great song.
I wanted to be with you.
Yeah. Okay, that was fast. Yeah, he's like flying by these. That's a great song. Sounds good. Sounds good. 80s. Dig it. Sounds good. Let's keep going.
Song number 31 is a classic nu metal record.
Nu metal.
And it's my favorite sounding nu metal record. The mix of this is just massive. The production, everything. The whole record is amazing.
It's easier to run, replacing this.
You know, I didn't get into Linkin Park.
It's so much easier to go.
Sounds good.
Than face all this pain, you're all alone.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't get into Linkin Park. I got into Deftones. Like, if you're talking about like nu metal, I don't even, who's nu metal? I immediately said Deftones, but it's like, is that like Korn and Slipknot and Limp Bizkit, stuff like that? Bands like that? Stained, Godsmack. Yeah, Stained. He's another great songwriter. Kind of just like in his lane. Yeah. I mean, this is like when I was growing up. Deftones and Korn and Limp Bizkit all came out, and I remember all that stuff. I was into all of them, but out of all of them, I was most into Deftones. I was like really into I'm still really into Deftones. Deftones is sick to me. They're fantastic. Cold Chamber, yeah, I was into Cold Chamber. Sepultura. They're calling Sepultura 1996 album Roots. I love that record. That's a fantastic album. They're saying that's nu metal. Okay. Papa Roach. I was not into Papa Roach. Life is Peachy. I remember when that came out. Follow the Leader. That was a big deal. Yep. Issues. Woodstock 99. I remember watching that. I remember the fires and all that. I remember being home watching all those, like a lot of those sets. Tons of them. I still remember. I remember Red Hot Chili Pepper set, and Anthony Kiedis had to like telling people to like, let the fire trucks in, you know, like, hey guys, let the fire trucks in, you know, like they got to take care of these fires that you're setting because we can't have nice things, right? Kind of thing. Yeah, that was wild. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I didn't get into Linkin Park. Just wasn't for me. It sounds good. Does sound good. Just wasn't for me. All right, let's keep going.
Song number 30 is produced by Blake Mills.
Okay. Alabama Shakes. Okay, hang on. I have to bring this up because this is the first time song number 30 that he's bringing up the producer, and that's something that I was like, okay, hang on a second. We're talking about the best sounding albums, but I feel like the focus is almost more on the song, even though he's saying like the production. You know, he said at the beginning the production, but I'm like, okay, but if we're talking about how it sounds, we need to talk about producers and engineers, right? Right? I mean, they're making the records, right? They're making it sound like how it sounds. Like, yes, the artists and the musicians, it's everybody is involved, but like producer and engineer kind of matter, don't they? All right, let's keep going. Alabama Shakes. Yeah, that sounds cool. Let's keep going.
Song number 29 is called Jacksonville by Sufjan Stevens.
Oh, yeah, I know this one. This is a cool sounding record.
I lost my sight and the state backs in. I follow my heart and it leads me right to Jackson.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, Sufjan Stevens or Sufjan, however you pronounce his name or whatever. I always just said Sufjan Stevens. Yeah, he had that one, and then he also had one, Michigan, right? He's got interesting sounding music. He was going to do all 50 states, but he didn't end up doing it, right? He only did like 2. Yeah, Illinois was a cool one, though. I had that. I haven't heard it, and it's such a long time, actually. I mean, we're even talking about, yeah, he's kind of, I was going to say, he's kind of indie. So it's interesting that, like, an indie album would get on this. I mean, not that indie albums can't sound good or anything like that. It was self-produced. Interesting. Yeah, so now we're talking about self-production. Plenty of people self-produce and they sound great. Yeah, that's a good sounding record. It's good, interesting songs and songwriting. I mean, he's a songwriter. Cool. All right, keep going.
Song number 28 is off the Fumbling Towards Ecstasy album by Sarah McLachlan.
Canada, you guys. Wow.
You were with me every waking hour, so close I could feel yours.
Sounds good.
Coming in at number 27, this song is off Jellyfish's Spilt Milk record.
I don't know this. This is like some Ben Folds vibe, huh?
He stared back through his green Crayola eyes. She traced his likeness from off the back of the disc. Next to the box top, promised her the biggest prize.
Song number 26 I've featured in a bunch of videos because there's so many great drum fills and guitar solos and things like that in it. But it's a killer sounding song off a killer sounding record. Gino Vanelli.
Oh wow. Yeah. Haven't heard this in forever. Yeah. Wow. Brother to brother. Yeah. Yeah, I played that in college. It's been that long since I've even probably heard it. That's insane. It does sound good for that style. It kind of like reminds me of like some, almost like a little Al Jarreau-ish, but not as, Al Jarreau is a little bit more slick. This was a little bit more progressive, if you will, fusion-y almost. Yeah, it's a good sounding record. Sounds fine for the year and for what it is. Yep.
Coming in at number 25, this record is from one of Atlanta's finest bands. This is Outkast.
Oh yeah.
Give me a back.
Fantastic record.
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry. Take that back. I ain't gonna call you no more. Okay.
I love it.
Okay, I started out alone, cause my baby mama left me, now there's nobody at home. Beginning to feel like Mrs. Jackson done that clone. With this some real shit and I'm living it through this song. I'm moving vehicle to my family as I step out on the sofa and the boom boom. I woke up very upset. I throw the covers back and peep out through the draperies. My daughter, my baby mama on this tape.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, that is a great sounding record, actually. The whole record sounds fantastic. Speaker box. Yeah, it was great. Great one. Yeah. See, I'd rather listen to Outkast than any kind of West Coast. I mean, Kendrick Lamar's cool, but like, more when I think of like West Coast rap, I think of like, Tupac, and I'm like so not a Tupac fan. I don't like the style. I mean, in that kind of way. It's like, no, that's not. Nope, that's not for me. Anyways, Outkast though. Outkast is sick. Love them. All right, let's keep going.
Song number 24 is off a greatest hits record, which came out in 1975, I believe. This is Chicago, Saturday in the Park.
Okay, yeah.
Saturday in the park.
Yeah, great sounding records.
It was the 4th of July.
They have a lot of great sounding records, for sure.
Saturday in the park. I think it was the 4th of July.
Song number 23 came out, I believe, last year by the pianist Brad Mehldau. And this particular song off the record is a cover, and you might recognize it.
Whoa. Wow. Wow. Okay, hang on. I'm going to be Rick. I'm sorry. No disrespect. I'm just joking. Okay, I had to stop it there because I know Brad Mehldau. You guys probably saw that I did a community post because he was playing at Smalls. They live stream on Facebook, and I saw it, and I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? How many times have I paid to see Brad Mehldau, and I can now just live stream for free, right, from Facebook, a gig that he's on at Smalls. That's freaking incredible. And I posted, I was like, yo, you guys got to check this out. If you don't know him, I know you guys aren't like, whenever I post jazz stuff, you guys mostly don't care because it's jazz. Not everybody's into jazz. It's a smaller audience. I'm into jazz. I really like it. But I was a huge Brad Mehldau fan, particularly early on, all of his early records, the Art of the Trio records, all that stuff. I saw the title. It said Jacob's Ladder. And it sounded like some crazy, weird, deconstructed Tom Sawyer. So I might have to check it out. Is that like a straight up Rush cover record? Fantastic musician. Jacob's Ladder. Let's see. For Maybe As the Skies Are Wide, Mehldau transposed the line from Rush's 1981 track Tom Sawyer to a child's vocal pitch. Mehldau explained the musical conduit on the record is prog. Prog progressive rock was the music of my childhood before I discovered jazz. It was my gateway to the fusion of Miles Davis, Weather Report, Mahavishnu Orchestra, and other groups, which in turn was the gateway to more jazz. I would say the same for me, because I was into Dream Theater. And then I got into Miles Davis. The prog from Rush, Gentle Giant, and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, these bands and others have continued to influence newer groups that bring pop impulses into the arena of hard rock and screaming math metal like Periphery, whose music is included here, and inspired the screaming vocals on album track Her Undnecht. Very cool. So it's got Maybe As the Skies Are Wide, what we just heard. It also has, it looks like Jacob's Ladder. It's got 3 parts, but part 2 is credited, Rush is credited, so something there. And then Tom Sawyer. Okay, so I might have to check those out for sure. Very interesting. And yeah, it's jazz. Okay, very cool. All right, let's keep going.
Song number 22 is a reference song that I've used for years and years. Really, any song off this record sounds amazing. This is Soundgarden off of Super Unknown.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you can't go wrong. This album does sound fantastic, and every single song is a smash, in my opinion. I mean, I grew up with this record. This is such a good record. Like, top to bottom. It's so good. Okay. I did actually get to see Soundgarden. Luckily, I got to see them while I was in LA. It was a show. It was them and 9 Inch Nails, I believe. Honestly, I was disappointed in Soundgarden. 9 Inch Nails was amazing, but Chris Cornell's vocals sound freaking amazing. Like, he's an incredible singer, but he wasn't that night. He just wasn't. Sorry. I don't know. He sounded really rough. He was super pitchy, and that's kind of tough. Like, if you're pitchy, it's just tough. It's kind of like listening to Geddy Lee on the R40 tour. It's kind of like, oh God, this is so upsetting. This is just really too bad. It's like it's such a shame kind of thing. It's like that. Yeah. Anyways, all that aside, this record sounds incredible. He's totally right. This is a great one. All right, let's keep going.
Song number 21 sounds as good today as it sounded when I was in college.
Can choose from phantom fears and
Yeah. And he picked my favorite song.
I will choose a path that's clear. I will choose free will.
Yeah. Come on, guys. Permanent Waves. The second I heard it, you guys have it on video. The second I heard it. I mean, at the very end of it, it was just so glaringly obvious. It was like, this is a smash. top to bottom. It is a great record. It's a great record. It sounds great. There's nothing wrong with how it sounds. All of Rush's records sound great. Even their first record, for what it is, it sounds, they've always sounded and performed great. My thing with them is always like whether or not I like the song or not. But recording wise and performance wise, they're fantastic. They're great. Okay, let's keep going.
Coming at number 20, this song is off one of the most classic hip hop records of all time.
I lost the
by Dr. Dre.
Went and visited niggas in the hospital. It's all the same shit all across the
globe.
I just sit back and watch the show.
Everywhere that I go ain't the same as before.
Interesting.
People I used to know just don't know me no more.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, one of the greatest hip hop producers ever, right? Dr. Dre. And so many people that work in his camp. I mentioned already Mike Elizondo. It's an interesting pick. I don't know if I would have picked that, or maybe I would have picked something from Kendrick Lamar, or even like earlier Snoop Dogg records. But that's an interesting pick. I mean, it sounds good. It sounds like Dre. Yeah, I mean, classic producer. And that's what we're talking about here, right? Sounding records, producers and engineers. Still not really talking about producers and engineers. And I feel like that's what makes great sounding records, right? We're not talking about songs, top songs and songwriting. We're talking about sounding the sound of the record, right? Production and engineering. All right. Let's keep going.
Song number 19 is a song that I've actually done a breakdown on one of my What Makes This Song Great videos. It's one of my favorites.
Oh, this is a great album. And it does sound great.
This is Tool.
Great album. Oh, keep playing. The vocals come in. Come on. Yeah. I even saw him on that tour. That was my first year at Berkeley. Great album. Like, just sick. Just really, really, really fantastic album. And yeah, it does sound great. All right, let's keep going.
Song number 18, this entire record really set a new standard for what heavy rock should sound like. It was completely fresh and still sounds fresh here 45 years later.
Is it Helen? Okay. All right. Yeah, that's cool. Van Halen, right? Classic. Eddie Van Halen, you can't go wrong. I think it sounds fine. There's nothing wrong with how it sounds. It's cool. All right.
Song number 17 is always one of my favorite listening records. I put this thing on probably at least once every couple months and listen through the entire record. It's just so great to listen to.
Oh. I'm new to Genesis. And I don't know this one.
Freudian slumber, empty of sounds.
Sounds good. Okay, yeah. You guys know, if you've been watching, I'm new to Genesis. I don't know Genesis records. I didn't catch them. But what I've heard so far, the handful that I've heard so far are pretty incredible, and they're on my short list. You guys know that. I've said it before. They're definitely on my... When I'm done with Rush's discography, they're on my short list. So we'll get to that when we get to that. But, I mean, very cool. Okay. All right, next.
Coming in at number 16, this song is off the Rolling Stones' Let It Bleed record. You all know this.
Give me Shelter. Sounding records, great sounding records. It's Let It Bleed. All right. I'm not saying it doesn't sound good. He's picked like a lot of modern, I mean, it makes sense. Modern technology's better than older technology. It sounds different. I mean, there's certainly, it's like way cleaner, sharper. It sounds different. It sounds better. It does, frankly. It kind of does. That being said, 70s records also just sound, and not only sound, but feel awesome. There's something about the technology back then that makes those records just feel fantastic. It's kind of interesting. I mean, yeah, I love Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones are great. Gimme Shelter is a great classic, right? Let It Bleed, classic record. Okay, all right.
Song number 15 is from a record released in the early 90s. I love this entire record, and it sounds phenomenal. This is Tori Amos.
What if I'm a mermaid in these jeans of his with her name still on it? But I don't care, cause sometimes I said sometimes I hear my voice and it's been silent all these.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, it sounded fine. I'm not familiar with Tori Amos, like, at all. I know of her, but I didn't get into her records. Sounds fine, though. All right.
Song number 14 is off Robert Plant's Band of Joy record.
Did I play this for you? Yeah.
It's just a beautiful record to listen to.
It was actually my first...
Sounds phenomenal.
Day one. Off of this. Was it off of this record, or was it off of Lullaby and the Ceaseless Roar? These records do sound fantastic. They do.
My words running together.
Yeah.
I thought you'd anchor me down.
Song number 13 is from a record
great.
released in 2000. This is Radiohead's finest sounding record, I think.
Oh, yeah. This is where Radiohead really gets me. Kid A and Amnesiac, and he's right, it does sound great. This is where they just hunker down the studio, and it's like how I talk about the Beatles. Hunker down the studio and just do drugs. It's amazing. Amazing sounding record. Yeah, I love this record.
Coming in at number 12, this record is a classic record for sounding great.
Boston. Okay.
This is Boston. Coming in at number 11,
okay. Yeah,
it's kind of unfair with classical albums or movie film scores because they just sound better, really, than any other kind of records.
Whoa.
Just, it's all professional playing and everything, but this record just sounds outstanding. This is John Williams,
he's kind of right.
Yo-Yo Ma and Yitzhak Perlman. It's from the Memoirs of a Geisha soundtrack.
He's right, though, about all that. Yo-Yo Ma. I mean, he's right. It's because they have, like, we're talking movie budgets, right? It's like not the same ballpark as music budgets, particularly now. It's like just not the same ballpark. They usually have orchestras. They're the reason, if you go back to the Anthony Jackson interview that I checked out, his 20-year prediction, and we're 5 years away from that prediction, the studios are only going to be used for stuff like this. Just the great studios, like the classic great studios, the incredible sounding studios, the stuff where it sounds like this. You just can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. That's what it is. And they're going to have the best players and the best producers and engineers and all of that. Again, we're talking about greatest sounding albums. We must talk about producers and engineers, right? It's not just the records and the artists. It's also the producers. These producers have discographies just like these bands have discographies, right? And oftentimes these bands are picking the producers because they want the producer's track record. If it's hip hop, I want Dr. Dre to do a track, and I want Just Blaze to do a track, and I want Mike Dean to do a track because of their track record, right? They pick whatever producer that they want. Or often, depending on the artist or whatever, maybe not so much today, maybe today actually, but if it's like a newer artist and they're with a label, the label will set them up with a producer. But they're setting them up with a producer because the producer has a track record, or depending on the level, maybe they pass you to some newer producer just because they're trying things out, and budget-wise, that makes sense. Just like all of the different business decisions that go into it, because that's what it is the music business, right? It's a business decision. Yeah, I'm going with these guys because they have a track record. I can put that out there. They have that name, and that's going to be, it just stacks the odds in your favor, right? When you're picking these producers and things like that. Anyways, let's keep going.
Okay, we're finally down to the top 10. This record
Top
came
10.
out in 1986, I believe. It was produced by Daniel Lanois.
Oh, yeah.
Peter Gabriel, Sledgehammer.
Daniel Lanois.
Incredible sounding record.
Who else does Daniel Lanois work for, right? Known for U2. That's a big deal. This is obviously a great sounding record. Tony Levin and the funk fingers, the drumsticks tied to his fingers. That's how he's playing. Did you know that? Funk fingers? Tony Levin. You probably didn't. You guys aren't bass players. Why would you know that? Look up Tony Levin funk fingers. Sledgehammer. Tony Levin funk fingers. Let's keep going.
Song number 9, I did a breakdown of. I knew it was incredibly well recorded, but when you listen to the tracks isolated, it just takes on a whole nother dimension. This is Kiss from a Rose by Seal, produced by Trevor Horn.
This is a great record. See, he's talking about producers now. Yeah, it's a great song. Great song. Great song.
Now that your roses in bloom, a light hits the gloom on the grave.
Yeah, great song. Great song.
Song number 8 is also from a soundtrack. I interviewed the composer recently, and all of his soundtracks sound amazing. I just picked this one. I just love the sound of it. This is Thomas Newman from Finding Nemo.
Yeah, again, same with that Geisha and Yo-Yo Ma and John Williams. The same things is what I'm saying. Same. It's like like he said, it's like unfair. It's like, yeah, everything sounds incredible. Sounds incredible. Because you're getting the best of the best.
Song
of the
number
best.
7 is off a classic record that pretty much everyone would agree will be on this list or should be on this list.
Lunatic is on the glass.
Okay.
The lunatic is on the grass.
Pink Floyd.
Remembering games and daisy chains and laughs. Got to keep the
Song number 6
Yeah.
is from a classic record that I've never talked about on my channel. And the reason I've never talked about it is I'm not sure I can play it, but I'm going to try it. I may have to cut it out. But this is off Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys.
Oh, yeah. Classic. Incredible. I was super into this record for a while. Yeah, how can you not? The voice leading, the bass part, the inversions. It's really nice. It's
Okay,
great.
we're now down to the top 5.
Great record.
This list really isn't about the order. It's actually just about these particular records that these come from, the albums. It's really an album video that I'm talking about individual songs. This song is off Night at the Opera. It's one of Brian's songs.
I don't know this one. I've mentioned we've been doing Queen on here. Sounds fun.
Massive. Song number 4 is from a record that many people use to tune their sound systems and have
Steely
since
Dan.
the
It's gotta be
70s.
Steely
It's
Dan.
actually this record or the record that followed it, or Donald Fagen's solo record, Nightfly. All these 3 records, but this is off of Asia, Steely Dan.
Yeah, everybody. And this is like super well known. Everybody does it. It's like just known for sounding fantastic.
Coming in at number 3,
nice,
this is from Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life.
Oh,
It's a song called I Wish.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Stevie Wonder, he could have picked damn near anything. I love Stevie Wonder. This is like stereotypical Stevie Wonder. I mean, it's still good, but...
Song number 2 is from the Court and Spark album by Joni Mitchell.
Okay.
Every song is amazing on this.
Yeah,
like
Joni,
all of her records.
He was playing on the sidewalk for passing change.
Yeah, she sounds fantastic. She's just great.
Glory train passed through him.
Incredible
so
songwriter.
The coins he made in People's Park, and we're looking for a woman to Court and Spark.
Okay, I have a few honorable mentions.
Okay.
These are songs that I would have put on my list, or albums that I cannot actually play on here. I know we'll get the video blocked. And here are some of my honorable mentions. We have the Beatles' Revolver. We have Prince, Purple Rain. AC/DC, Back in Black. Led Zeppelin 4. Keith Jarrett, pretty much every record. I put Spirits on here, but any Keith Jarrett record is amazing.
Keith Jarrett,
Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, all those records are records I would use to test out my stereo or a new set of speakers or a huge sound system. These are all amazing records. Coming in at number 1.
Whoa.
This is...
Yeah, I know this. Wow.
Probably...
Wow, he picked this. This is a great sounding record.
Beautifully recorded record.
Wow, he picked John Coltrane and Johnny Hartman. Wow.
John Coltrane and Johnny Hartman.
Wow, that's amazing.
So wonderful.
Songs called They Say It's Wonderful.
Yeah.
So they say.
There's a lot of great sounding John Coltrane records.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Treat yourself to listen
Good for
to
him
that
for picking that
entire
one.
record. It is absolutely
That's amazing.
Astoundingly beautiful. John Coltrane and Johnny Hartman, one of the finest recordings ever. That's my list.
That's amazing. All right. There it is. Wow. Johnny, I'm still like, Johnny, you picked John Coltrane and Johnny Hartman. Wow. Good for you. I mean, that was great because he's got a ton of people watching his channel that he would pick that. Now they may hopefully go and check out John. I mean, you know, I've already been saying I listen to jazz. I like jazz. So like, yeah, I know that record. Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting list. I mean, there were some surprises in there. 100%. There was some surprises in there. It certainly was not like a full-on Rolling Stones list, like popularity contest kind of list. But there was some, you know, popular stuff in there for sure. And for good reason, because it's not like it doesn't sound good. There's a ton of great sounding records. Like if you're just talking about records, okay? I mean, he could have picked D'Angelo's Voodoo. He could have picked Pantera. Like there's no Pantera on this list or really like a lot of metal at all. And I'm like, yo, Great Song and Tranquil sounds fantastic. Among others, you know. He didn't pick any Sting. That's kind of interesting. Like, you could have picked Soul Cages or 10 Summoners Tales or something, right? He didn't pick any, like, Stax recordings. I'm like, yo, Al Green, Isaac Hayes. Those are great sounding records and nothing from Stax. And now that's, we're talking about studios and record labels, right? Kind of like Blue Note. Blue Note records sound great, right? And again, it comes, I want to touch on the thing that I feel like he's missing here. He talked a little bit about it where he was like, oh, this is produced by so-and-so, this is produced by so-and-so. He did that sometimes. But to me, this should almost be like a producer engineer list. He mentioned Daniel Lanois. Okay, let's see. Daniel Lanois. Okay, Daniel Lanois is like a super big producer. Who else has he produced? Because this is where you're going to be like, oh, he's done a lot of great sounding records. Maybe he's the Brian Eno, right? He did Peter Gabriel. He did U2's The Joshua Tree. He did Achtung Baby. He didn't mention U2. He didn't say U2 either. Yeah, he did Peter Gabriel Us. He did Emmylou Harris. He's done a Bob Dylan record, Scott Weiland's record, Willie Nelson, Sinead O'Connor, The Killers record, Robbie Robertson. This is like among others. Okay, so there's that. Tony Visconti did all those Bowie records, right? Who else did Tony Visconti produce? Badfinger, The Moody Blues, Thin Lizzy, T-Rex, Perry Farrell, Esperanza Spalding, right? I mean, this is huge. Iggy Pop. These are people, Rick Wakeman. These are people that know how to make records and know how to make records sound and also can make records for the artist, right? I mean, a lot of you people are Rush people. Think about what happened when they went away from Terry Date. Terry Date, that's another good producer. When they went away from Terry Brown, right? And also that young band that people just hit me to. What were they called? And they went to Terry Brown. These things are on purpose. The producers, I feel like this kind of video, there needs to be a bigger conversation around producers and engineers. All right, let me keep going. He didn't say any Earth, Wind & Fire. He could have picked All in All. That's an incredible sounding record. There wasn't really any country in here. Even like more contemporary stuff like Chris Stapleton's Traveler record, right? Sounds fantastic. He didn't mention any Jack White. And some of these, kind of like how he did his honorable mention, maybe, you know, because I tried to do a Jack White. I did a Dead Weather song on my series, When I'm Playing You, and it got blocked. So like maybe he's being smart about it in that kind of way. Maybe. I mean, Deftones, right? Deftones, that guy Nick Raskelnex, whatever his name is, produced those records. A lot of those records, Diamond Eyes, that's an incredible one. I mean, I hate to say it because probably a lot of people won't like this, but it's accurate. You can't talk about all these incredible records without talking about Drake. The guy's got how many #1 hits? I mean, he's like Jay-Z, you know, in that kind of way. And all of his records sound fantastic. He could have picked Views. Talking about country, he could have picked, you know, Whiskey Bent. He could have picked The Pressure's On, Hank Jr., right? All these. He could have picked Herbie Hancock, Headhunters, Thrust, all those records. Those are great sounding records. They're fantastic. They were incredible records. Anything Nine Inch Nails or Trent Reznor, we're talking about an incredible producer right here. He didn't bring up Quincy Jones, yo. Quincy Jones, okay? One of the greatest producers, period. So that's my thing about this. And I'm not saying that the ones that he picked were bad. It's an impossible list to make, frankly. It's an impossible list to make. But to me, the conversation needs to be around producers and engineers, because that's who's making the records. That's who's placing the microphones. That's who's using these preamps, making these choices. The artists are not making those choices. They're not like, you know what, we need something warmer sounding for this, so that means we need to go with this preamp, or we need to use this EQ. We need to do this with the low end on the guitars. That's what's helping make the record sound how it sounds. The artist, I promise you, is not doing that. They're not doing that in that kind of way. That's not their job to do. Their job is to perform the music impeccably, and potentially, if they're the songwriter, also to write great music. And you know, nowadays artists and writers and musicians kind of doing everything. Like, you know, I'm a bass player, but also like I got into production and engineering, and I am self-taught and all that, and I know things just from my experience doing it. And there's more of that. Everybody has a studio, right? Everybody has a studio at home because it's cheap now, right? But you still have these incredible old school producers that are just invaluable in this kind of thing. So, okay, he didn't mention Toto. He could have picked Toto 4. And those guys self-produced. There are self-producers. Stevie Wonder self-produced. Gary Katz did all those Steely Dan records. I mean, we should be talking about Gary Katz. Yo, you just made all these records that everybody tunes their recording studios to. You know, Brian Wilson, Beach Boys, right? Self-produced kind of thing. Okay, but like producers, right? Bob Rock, Dr. Dre, Terry Brown, Quincy Jones, Tony Visconti, Babyface, Mike Dean, Steve Lillywhite, Creed Taylor, Don Was, Jeff Lynne, Daniel Lanois. And then you have engineers, Tony Maserati, Andy Wallace. One of my favorite, when I was studying and like researching and working on engineering and producing and working on sound and stuff and recording, basically, I found out about Andy Wallace. I looked him up and I was like, oh my God, he's worked on an intense amount of records that I love. Like, whoa, that's a big deal, right? That's a really, really, really big deal. And we're talking about everybody from 90s rock stuff to like Slayer, right? I'm just like, yo, Run DMC, Slayer, The Cult, Rage Against the Machine, Helmet, Nirvana, The Rollins Band, Bad Religion, Jeff Buckley's Grace, Faith No More, Blind Melon, Rancid, Sepultura. He did Rush's Test for Echo, Silverchair, Ben Folds, Seven Dust, Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, Mudvayne, Soulfly, Linkin Park, Slipknot's Iowa, Natalie Imbruglia, Trapped, Disturbed, Pussifer, Chevelle, Korn. His list is insane, okay? That's why I have to keep going on this. If you're talking about the best sounding, you have to talk about producers and engineers. There's a reason why all of his records, look at it, just this list is just insane. When I look up Andy Wallace and look up the records that he's worked on, you're just like, these are all incredible sounding records, like incredible sounding records. Maybe he's the reason. You know, maybe it's not just specifically these artists and these bands. Dream Theater, Ghost, Avenged Sevenfold. I mean, the list goes on, okay? Rudy Van Gelder, Tom Dowd, Jimmy Douglas, Phil Tan, Steve Albini, Eddie Kramer. So that's what I have to say about this video. I mean, there's great songs, great albums, and great songs on his list that were produced by great people like Chris Hughes, John Bryan, Tony Visconti, Trevor Horn, he mentioned, Nigel Godrich, and all of those Radiohead records are incredible. Buddy Miller produced Band of Joy. Pierre Merchand did Sarah McLachlan's record that he mentioned. Look at his list. Who else he's produced? All kinds of people. Don Gilmore did Linkin Park's. Chris Hughes did Tears for Fears. Look at who else Chris Hughes has produced. To me, this should be about producers and engineers. And maybe I'll do some stuff on that. That would take a lot of research, but I think that would actually be pretty cool. But it's like really niche though. That's the thing. Like Rick Beato is reaching a ton of people by making a video like this. As opposed to if I make a video on 20 great Andy Wallace records, you're going to be like, who the hell is Andy Wallace? You know, but that's like the key to so many of these incredible sounding records, in my opinion, is the producers and engineers helping make these bands and these artists sound like how they sound and make these classic records so loved, enjoyed, and timeless. It's because of the producers and engineers. So that's what I got to say on this. Thank you guys for watching. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'll catch you in the next video.